Welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurship Unboxed, your front row seat to the stories, struggles, and secrets behind today's most innovative startups, entrepreneurs, and investors. I'm your host, AJ. And today we have an extraordinary guest, Hanane Benkhallouk. Hanane is a trailblazer in innovation strategy, transformational leadership, and social innovation. With over 20 years of experience across Fortune 500 companies, governments, and non-profits, her journey from Casablanca to New York City, and now thriving in Dubai, is truly inspiring. In 2014, she founded Sustain Leadership Consultancy, focusing on transformational leadership and gender balance. Her impactful work at the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation for Knowledge revolutionized innovation and entrepreneurship across the Arab world. Her accolades include the Visionary Award from MasterCard and Entrepreneur Magazine, the Game Changer Award from the Middle East Institute of Excellence, and recognition as a Golden Titan of Africa. Hanane has contributed to Harvard Business Review, Forbes Middle East, and more. Get ready to be inspired by Hanane's incredible journey and insights. Welcome to the show, Hanane. Give us the 60-second backstory on Hanane Benkhallouk. How'd you get the idea, and what was your career before taking the entrepreneurial leap?
Well, thank you first. Thank you first for having me. It's really, the pleasure is mine to be in platforms like these where I could be potential and somebody who inspires potentially African entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. As I always say, entrepreneurs are problem solvers, change makers. So the journey to entrepreneurship always starts by having noticed that there is a gap, there is a problem, there is an issue. That could be related to our own story or to something that will benefit others in our community. For me, it was just the result of circumstances. My journey goes from Casablanca to New York City and now in Dubai for the past 18 years. And I didn't start being an entrepreneur because I always say that entrepreneurship is first a mindset. We can be working as an employee and be entrepreneur. As we all know, since maybe the audience probably is majorly French speakers, say that the word entrepreneurship or entrepreneur comes from the French word of entreprendre, which means take an initiative. So it's really the essence of it is we need to take initiative, whatever we do. It's not about owning a business. So first, that's what we need to keep in mind, is to be successful as an entrepreneur, we need to understand the etymology of the word, which means taking initiative. So it takes courage, it takes proactivity, and it takes that we notice that we're not in it just because we don't want to have a boss, for example, or we just want to have our own flexible time. It really comes from identifying a specific problem. And for me, that problem was that I was exposed to when I was working for the government of Dubai. And when there was one study that we oversaw and I was responsible for it, and it showed that there was a big gap in our region. And when I say our region, I mean Middle East and Africa. This is the region that I feel very rooted in, or the region, mainly Africa, I would say now. And we didn't, and I'm talking 12 years back, that compared to other countries, we still had that prevailing mindset of wanting to finish school and get a government job and an easy job with easy benefits and salary. And we didn't really have a lot of innovation compared to other countries. And we wanted to dig deeper and find out, identify why, compared to other countries, other nations, we're not a very innovative nation, although we are very young population. So we have brilliant minds. So it was more, what needs to be done? How can we create that conducive environment? How can we modify the education system so that it starts planting those seeds of taking initiative, questioning, being entrepreneurial, taking risk, because at the end of the day, you need to take. And so when I saw that, at the time, I saw that by 2020, our region would have needed more than 100 million jobs. And I thought, oh my God, that's a lot of jobs for the government to create for all these graduates. What do we need to do to really solve the problem of unemployment for our nations without having to rely on government? We needed to encourage more. We needed to work on an ecosystem that could create these opportunities and that could convince and influence the culture. It starts with the culture. Our culture mainly is still about white collar. Everybody wants their kids to graduate, to be a doctor, a pilot, or an engineer, and or to have a stable government job and to have just that white collar job. So we needed to start working from the foundation of it. And that was exactly the issue or the problem or the gap or the challenge, let's say, that I have identified and felt called for it to be part of the solution rather than just identify the problem. So even after I left the government, I thought this is really what I want to continue doing. This is what I feel called for. This is really my passion. And I started creating programs, engaging multiple stakeholders because it needed a collaboration between academia, the government, private sector, and society all together to work little by little to create that environment, that ecosystem that will encourage more entrepreneurs to take that initiative to create jobs. Because when we create a job, whether as a government entity or an authority or a private sector or even as an individual, that's one job for one person. But when you choose entrepreneurship, when you choose to start a business, you're creating a job for yourself or you're helping somebody create a job for themselves and create a job for at least maybe 5, 6, 10 people. So I imagine the ripple effect of encouraging more entrepreneurs and how that can impact the unemployment as a challenge.
Hanane, you emphasize the importance of staying true to your values and passions despite external pressures. Can you share specific strategies or exercises that entrepreneurs can use to cultivate a sense of authentic self, especially when facing doubts?
Okay, well, yeah, actually, I do have an exercise. I would call them 2 exercises that I practice with entrepreneurs who are just aspiring or want to check if actually entrepreneurship is for them, or just to stay authentic to yourself. Because the happiest people are those who are living a life or having a job or having a business idea that's aligned to their personal values. When you are in a place that aligns with your personal values, of course you're going to be happier. So that's the start. And exercise is values exercise. So what I do, I share a list of 100 values, like the 100 most common practice values or talked about values. And I ask everyone to choose the top 10 for them. That there is no way they can live without it. What matters to them? And by the way, financial freedom or money is a value. So you could be driven by money. There's nothing wrong with that. So they choose 10, and then I ask them to reduce it to 5. And sometimes they struggle. I'm like, no, what are the 5 values that matter to you the most? Because that's the start, how you can be authentic to yourself. If you're going to find yourself in an environment that does not honor those values, know that you're not going to be able to succeed, you're not going to be able to be fulfilled, and whatever you do is going to be temporary. You might choose not to live a fulfilled life immediately, but at least you are aware. You are self-aware of what matters to you. The second one is what I call the top model. It's talent, opportunity, and passion. And people say, well, passion is such an overrated term. Everybody's using it. Maybe it's a bit cliche. Everybody says passion, passion. And how can you find what you're passionate about? I would say, again, I would ask everyone, when you put the financial issues or the money aside, let's say somebody comes and gives you a check, a blank check, okay? And then in your mind, okay, I don't have any financial concerns. So if the financial concerns are out of the picture, what is the job or the activity that you would love to do and you'd be happy to do without being worried about finances? And that's how we start thinking about what we are really passionate about. And some other small exercise I can have. So first, think about You're not doing something for the money. You're not doing something even if you don't like it because it pays you well. So in your mind, visualize that you don't have that issue and that's taken care of or that put aside. What is the activity? What is the job? What would you be doing if money wasn't an issue? So I would like everyone to reflect on that. That's the first step to finding what you're passionate about. Second, what are the activities that probably when you were a kid you were enjoying? What are the things that when you do, when you're immersed in, you don't feel the time? You could do them over and over and you don't feel the time passing. And talent, so that's passion. Talent is, you can identify it by seeking feedback. Think about yourself, even when you were a student. We all had group activities, we all had projects, we all had capstone projects in school. What were your peers? What were your peers really appreciating you? What was everybody saying? Oh, Hanane is really good at that. She's really good at speaking. She's really good at teaching. She's really good at transferring messages. What everybody has a skill and a talent. And sometimes we don't have that self-awareness, so we can start by observing, by thinking, what is it that I do that I don't feel the time passing? And we can ask for feedback. Or just remember that, what was I always complimented on? It could be anything. So these are the ways how we can identify our passion and our talent, and then combine that with the O of the opportunity. So it's really that meeting point of what I'm passionate about, what I'm good at, I'm talented, and then identify the opportunity where I could exercise this passion, this talent to make it a money-making activity or money-making business or money-making job.
Having mentored countless entrepreneurs, what are the most common challenges you see them facing? How do you guide them to overcome these obstacles?
Okay. Well, the first obstacle I would say is that entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs are mainly idea owners. They come and say, I have this amazing idea. Okay. And the minute they say that, sometimes I ask this blunt question and I go, who cares? And they look at me really shocked. Is she being offensive? But actually, that is a valid question. Because if you have an idea, not only your mom and your dad and your friends and your siblings will clap for you and say, amazing, then it's a great idea. We all come with ideas. But what makes it a business opportunity is if you really can answer this question without feeling that it's offensive. When I say who cares, you say, well, I know that this segment, this audience, this kind of people care about this solution. That's what makes it a business opportunity. When somebody will care enough for that idea that is supposed to be a solution to a valid problem, to the point that they will be willing to pay money for it. And that's why I ask everyone, okay, before you get so excited about your idea, think about it. Did it come from you? Is it just you're sitting there and then, the bulb came on top of your head and you're like, ooh, eureka, I found an idea? Or is it that you've been noticing, or probably yourself, you've been struggling with the problem, you identified the problem, and then you went outside to validate that that's a real problem? So that's the first challenge. Is that a product market fit? Do you have an idea that other people care for it so much? Do you have a solution to a problem that is painful enough for somebody to want to pay money for it? It doesn't have to be a problem, it could be a need. So we could use a problem or we can use a need, or something that will make it easy, will simplify somebody's life, will probably fill a void that is there in the market. That's certain, probably if it's something inspirational, it could be just a niche market that's needing that. So first challenge, identify that product market fit. And everybody comes just so excited and ready to start. I'm like, hold on. It's not about having the right solution. It's not about identifying the right idea, the right solution. It's about identifying the right problem to solve. I want to repeat that, because if every aspiring entrepreneur just focuses on this, then they will really have a shortcut and they will avoid so many problems later on that journey. So it's not about identifying a great solution. It's about identifying the right problem to solve. That's what you need to do. There is a quote from Albert Einstein that I always use. He said, if I had 1 hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes understanding the problem and 5 minutes designing the solution. So in that perspective, I want everyone to think about that. Before you get so excited and you start developing the concept, you start developing the product or the service or the tech solution, you need to spend as much time on the field, understanding what is it that you are bringing a solution to? What is the need that you are filling? Is it valid? Are there enough people that are validating? It's like, yeah, that's a need. That's something that if it was in the market, I would pay money for it. Then we go, what are the features as well? So validating the idea before getting too excited. The second challenge, of course, is how do we price it? How do we go to market? So sometimes we just think about an idea and we fall in love with it, but we don't understand that, okay, that idea needs to go to market, needs to be distributed. Is there a competition for it, and etc. So really doing that analysis before getting too excited to go to market. That's it, I have an idea and I'm just going to sell it. We can't work like that, especially in such a competitive market today. And the third one, even when we have the right solution, we have validated it, we went and launched it, and it's we've even found the right market for it and it's selling and all, that becomes the problem of getting too attached, too emotionally attached to our idea. That's my baby. And I've seen that with many entrepreneurs I worked with, when they had a chance to scale, and scaling meant that they needed to probably modify a little bit of the original idea, pivot, iterate some features so that it can fit the larger market. Or when they needed to give away part of their shares because they're looking for investors to scale. Again, that attachment sometimes can come in the way. So you're moving from that founder mentality to a business owner is a big start as well, because it needs a complete different skill set. To run a business that is running, that has customers, you start having a team, it's scaling, it's going to market, it's growing. It's a completely different skill set from when you are just someone who's coming with an idea. And that's why I call it founder to business leader or founder to CEO. It's completely different mindset.
You mentioned the challenge of transforming your passion for entrepreneurship into a sustainable business. What key mindset shifts or practical steps helped you make this transition successfully?
I think, like I mentioned before, understanding why you're doing what you're doing, like why are you going into entrepreneurship? It always has to be linked to something bigger than just that product, bigger than just not wanting to have a salary or not wanting to have a boss. It really has to be linked to making a change, something that's bigger than yourself. And everybody can dig deeper, keep digging deeper and asking why so many times to reach to that point. Or, well, it's not just about wanting to launch a new product. It's because I like to, kind of like for me, for example, I say, because I want to contribute to moving our nation or our region, our African region, into an innovative or knowledge-based economy. I mean, that's huge. That's something big. That's governments have strategies and visions for it. But that's what I want to be part of. Improving lives, making us competitive, helping our youth have their jobs. So that's the bigger vision that probably what I'm contributing to is, like a dot or a drop in an ocean, but that's the big audacious goal that I have. And that's what makes me keep going when I feel that things are not easy. I go, yeah, but why did I start from the beginning? Because I really wanted to bridge that gap. I really feel that it's my responsibility to help our youth. And that's so each of us, even if you're starting a restaurant, a coffee shop, even if you're going to have a bakery, I'm not talking about the most sophisticated tech. Whatever you're doing, You need to be linking it to something that's bigger than just just the surface that you see. So each of us needs to keep scratching. And that's, trust me, once you could link, it might not happen immediately, but it's a work that we need to do. Whether alone with reflection, with the help of somebody who knows, to feel and to see what is our higher purpose that is calling us to start this new idea or this startup. Otherwise, it will be temporary. And at the first setback, you just drop the ball.
In your experience, what are the key traits that differentiate successful entrepreneurs from those who struggle? How can aspiring founders cultivate these traits?
First, knowing that when you start something new, there is no guaranteed results. So if we have an issue dealing with ambiguity, that we can't succeed in entrepreneurship. And knowing that starting something new might work, might not work, which means we could fail the first attempt. Being okay with accepting and learning from failures, because this is experimentation. Understanding that it's experimentation. Nothing is guaranteed. It's not a straight line. People think that going to entrepreneurship is just like idea, and I'm going to build a business plan, and I'm going to go pitch it, and then I'm going to succeed. It's not like that. It's really like a roller coaster, no matter how clear you think you are. So it's almost like thinking, are you somebody who has the guts to go on a roller coaster that's going upside down or not? If you're someone who's wanting to use the escalator or the elevator, then this is not for you. So really knowing that it is a roller coaster, there's not guaranteed result, it's a big risk, and chances to fail are very high. So yes. So that's the first checklist. For example, before you go in, be self-aware and be transparent and honest with yourself and ask, I know a lot of friends who tell me, we can't do it. Everybody says, I just know. And I respect that. They're like, we just cannot do it. No matter how we feel like we have more flexibility, we might make more money, but we don't have the courage to go out there and leave our job, for example, that's stable with its benefits, and go for that. They keep saying, we respect people who do that, but we don't have. So first, be honest with yourself. I'm like, this is the checklist. How am I going to feel if things don't work out? Am I willing to keep pivoting and changing the idea from its initial, because we come with a vision, and then we go to the field and we find that it's completely different. What people need is not exactly what I'm giving them. Am I willing to keep pivoting until things happen? That's the second thing. And third, make sure that before, especially if somebody is working and willing to quit, make sure that you have an emergency fund for yourself for at least 6 months to 1 year to pay your basics, because you don't want to be that anxious about the basics. That's not going to allow you to think and to innovate if you are anxious about the basics. So if you are taking that risk, make a calculated risk. They say that entrepreneurs jump from the plane and then start learning how to operate the parachute. But they have a parachute. They don't throw themselves from the airplane without a parachute. So that's all I'm saying. It is jumping, but at least make sure that you have the parachute.
Absolutely. Hanane, you make an excellent point. Evaluating the risks involved in leaving a stable job to start a new venture is crucial, especially when you have significant responsibilities like supporting a family or paying a mortgage. It's a delicate balance. While taking big risks can lead to big rewards, it's essential to ensure those risks are calculated and manageable.
Absolutely. And make sure you surround yourself with a support system. It's very, very important. Become part of a circle of others who went through it. Learn from others who are in the same situation or were in the same situation, and learn from their stories, learn from their failures, get inspired by others. And make sure you surround yourself with people who are authentic and genuine, not just the ones who are always just celebrating their victories and making it sound that, they're geniuses and it was smooth. Nobody. And I tell you, I work with thousands of entrepreneurs. There isn't one entrepreneur who is a real entrepreneur, not a business owner. Again, because we're differentiating. Not a business owner who exited from their family business or continued something that's existing. I'm talking about real entrepreneurs who have really enterprise, who took initiative, who started from zero. Those are the ones you need to ask. And I can bet that none of them had a smooth sail. Each had their own set of setbacks and challenges. It's just about knowing how to navigate.
Let's dive into building a resilient entrepreneurial mindset is crucial for every entrepreneur. As a business coach with extensive experience working with numerous entrepreneurs and business leaders, you've seen firsthand how resilience can make a significant difference. You often speak about the 3Ps: passion, proactivity, and persistence. How have these traits manifested in the leaders you've worked with? And what are some effective ways to cultivate resilience and adaptability?
You see, the three Ps actually, they manifested, I learned it from my own journey. When I look back and I started having interviews like this one or discussions or chats, and everybody's asking me, and then it came like, well, when I looked at what made me start, and then I started observing other entrepreneurs or other business leaders, I just saw that pattern. Because when you think about it, what makes you start? As I spoke a lot about passion and explained it already, but again, I'll repeat it. That's the start. You need to feel that there's something that you are really, I would even say probably I need to change it to OPP. You need to be obsessed, almost obsessed about it, and not just passionate that I want to make this thing happen. So there needs to be that stronger call that is calling you to want to be part of something. Probably you want to be part of a change. You want to come, bring something that will help others. You want to pioneer something. You want to differentiate yourself. But it has to be something really strong. So that's the start. Because if you don't find something that you like, that you're passionate about, you're not going to leave your job and start something. So that's what it starts. Yes, that's the first P. I'm really passionate about this change. I'm passionate about this topic. I want to start being an artist and start my platform of art and leave the CEO in the multinational, because that's what I'm passionate about. I've seen a lot of people doing that. I want to start a small business where I cook because my passion is cooking. I want to start a fashion line because I want to work with women and sustain our heritage, our African heritage, whatever that is, that calls you to start something. But that's just the first step. Once I found out this is what I want to do, I'm not just going to sit and wait for things to happen. You have to be proactive. So that's the second P. Okay, now I know what I want to do. I decided, I know the idea. I need to be proactive to go to market, to go to the field, understand how it's going to, this is an idea, how it's going to become a concept, and how is that concept is going to take shape into a product or a service. What is it? What's out there? So I need to be proactive, go out there, see what's out in the market already. What are the people saying? What are they looking for? What are the features I need to come up with? How am I going to distribute this? Who can help me? Who are the partners? So knocking doors, being out there and giving that idea a shape that's going to be a tangible product, a tangible service. How am I going to price it? What's my forecast? Is this really something that has a chance to scale? Is there enough need for it that it's going to make enough money to sustain me and scale and sustain itself? Who are the co-founders that can help me? Who's the team, etc. So being proactive means being out there, asking all these questions, finding all these answers, and taking the necessary steps to move from an idea to a final product. Once you start being proactive, and I said I learned this from my own journey. I was clear about what I was passionate about. I started being proactive when I started working on the idea. But when I had everything clear and I thought, oh, okay, I'm just going to knock this door and that door. And for me, it was like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, and that's it. It was very clear in my mind. But when I started, the reality was different. Not every door I knocked opened the first time. So I had to be persistent. And that's how the third P. I could have dropped the ball easily because I had a completely different concept of how things would work. I had a clear business plan. I had a clear idea of who my partners would be, who my stakeholders would be. But what I had in mind was not what was on the field. And so I knocked the door and the door wouldn't open. I'll send emails and people wouldn't reply. I'll go and pitch and people think we're not convinced. So I needed to be persistent, not just knocking the same door, but probably looking at different alternatives. What do I need to change in the initial idea that I had? Probably I needed to change things. I needed to change the way I'm communicating. I remember I had to change the content of the website 3 times because I felt that the positioning wasn't right. It wasn't getting there. Everybody thought it was advanced because I was coming there with this passion that, oh, we're going to humanize business. We need to build culture in the workplace. We need to engage the public sector and private sector in the ecosystem. It was still new. Now it's happening. That vision is happening now. But at the time, those concepts were still new. And I went through my own assumption. Just because I believed it was needed, I assumed that everybody would just welcome them with open arms. Even if the need was there, they were not still understanding. And so we all start from assumptions, but we need to be willing to challenge our own assumptions and not be stubborn with it. No, this is how it's supposed to look. They don't understand. They don't know what they need. We can't. I did that. I started with that. I was a bit stubborn. Then I realized it's not going to work like that. So when I say persistent, I don't mean persistent as in being stubborn with your idea as it is. I mean persistent in wanting to see it come to life. But we need to be flexible in the way, the how. The why is clear. The why is that higher purpose. We need to be flexible in the what and the how. What is it going to look like? And how are we going to position it? How are we going to take it to markets? These are the 2 points that we need to be flexible with to be able to make things happen. So this is the mindset. These are the main 3 steps that took me to what I am today. And when I look back, I feel that when I look even at other entrepreneurs, no matter how they say it, it can all summarize in being passionate, then being proactive, and then being persistent.
Absolutely. Hanane, persistence is incredibly important. While all the 3 PSE, passion, proactivity, and persistence are crucial, I believe persistence is the key differentiator between a typical entrepreneur and a truly successful one.
Yes, it's sometimes I say it's 3 P's are persistent, persistence, to be honest. Because it's really about, okay, well, now I have a challenge. Okay, somebody rejected me. All right, I'll take it personal. Let's say this is not for me. No, what do I learn from? I failed. I tried this prototype and I failed. I did this minimum viable product and nobody wants it. Okay, yes, of course, we will be a bit disappointed. We will be frustrated. It's part of the journey. Yeah. But it's really about asking, okay, what didn't work? What can I learn from it? And what needs to change so that I can? And God created us with 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason. We need to be on the and listening to the potential customers or partners, stakeholders, investors, whoever that we need to scale. We need to listen to them more than we try to convince them. Because when you have that silence and you are pitching something and you don't feel that there is a connection, no matter how you keep saying it and trying to convince them, start asking questions. Listen to them, because sometimes the solutions come from the potential customer. You're not there to just keep saying, no, this is how it's going to work. I know it's going to work and I've done it and it has the best tech. And maybe you don't want the best tech. Maybe you want something simple. Maybe you don't need complex. Yeah. So it's really about starting from the outside in. The outside in approach is what makes a difference. Be on the listening end. There's one quote that I always use when I do my design thinking classes. It is about designing a solution, a product, a service, a policy, whatever that is, no matter what the industry or the topic is, even for governments, for example, who work for citizens and want to find solutions for citizens, for example. Do not design for the end user. Design with the end user. With, not for. And that's the mistake most of us make. We think we know better. We get excited about ideas and we design for them. I'm like, oh, I'll make this. I know what they need. Design with them, meaning engage them in the process. Even when you have, a fairly, good idea about what needs to look like. And on the journey, try to have feedback. Okay, so now what are the colors that these people would need? What kind of distribution channels they would need? Because sometimes, imagine, I work with some entrepreneurs. They had an idea of a product, and they're already ready to start to open a shop, for example. And then they realize that their target segment are online shoppers. So why would you go waste money if you did not listen? So if they did not go out and found out that 75% or more of their target customers prefer to buy that kind of product online. So do you really need to open a shop now? Maybe later. But because in their mind, oh, I want to have a flagship shop, but nobody's going to come to it. And it's only in your mind. And at the end of the day, you're starting this business to make money, to build a brand. So, and it's for your customers. So if you design with your customers, they will shape for you the whole business model. They will shape for you how you communicate. Why are you going to go, for example, on TV if everybody's on their phone now, if everybody's on their Instagram, it costs a fraction. And I'm just giving just simple example. Why would you want to go and open a shop and rent it and incur all that cost when everybody's buying online? So when you design with your customers, you can save yourself a lot of money. You can have a shortcut to go to market, and you can have a fast scaling, to be honest.
You emphasize the importance of balance in life. Can you share specific practices or strategies that have helped you maintain this balance? And how can entrepreneurs apply these principles to their businesses?
Sure. A lot of people talk about work-life balance. That's something that have been challenging. There is no work and life balance. There is only life balance because work is part of our life, even more for entrepreneurs. Not like you have a 9 to 5 and you're like, okay. And even actually for employees or for people who are in the corporate world, if you keep saying work-life balance, then in your mind, you're not living when you're working. Imagine that mindset when you feel that I need to finish work to go living. How sad is that? When versus thinking, this is my life, part of it is work, part of it is for family, part of it is my hobbies, part of it is for my health and well-being, etc. And when I say life balance, again, it's not about, okay, I'm going to take this pie and I'm going to divide it into equal pieces or equal shares. I'm like, okay, I'm going to work for 4 hours and do this. No, that's not how it works. It's really about that self-awareness. I understand that we as entrepreneurs, or even people who work in the corporate world, sometimes we have urgent projects, and then we might have to work long nights, weekends. We might really have to dedicate a lot of time for this project or for this specific phase of the project. It's just about being aware that, okay, if I'm being, let's look at your week or your month. This is how I tell everyone, and this is what worked for me. And I'm like, okay, for the past week or the past month, I look at how have I been using my time? I've been working for 10 hours a day. I haven't been really dedicating time for my family. I haven't been going to the gym. I haven't been eating well. At the end of the day, as humans, we have 4 dimensions. We have the physical dimension, the mental one, the emotional one, and the spiritual one. This is how I like to look at it. So it's really about looking at how am I nurturing these 4 dimensions? And is one of them taking over the others for a long time? I'm not saying that every day I'm like, okay, now it's time to stop. No. But I look at, oh my God, for the past 2 weeks, I haven't been going to the gym. I haven't been eating well. Now it's time to pay attention to that. So it's thinking about it as you can have some kind of like a measurement where you take a check. You just do a check from time to time to make sure that one element or one dimension of our life is not always taking over. So it's just about playing with it and making sure that If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be taking, and you're not going to be able to take care of your business, of others. So sometimes you need to put those boundaries. So I'll give you examples of what I do, because I learned from my mistakes. I schedule lunch as a meeting in my calendar. So there are some times that I close. I schedule my gym time in my calendar. So that means those times are, for me, it's scheduled. I go to the gym at 8 or at 9, or every week I can change it. That's blocked on my calendar. So I'm not giving a chance even to myself, and I committed to that. And if I know lunchtime, I started putting boundaries of, for example, by 9:30 p.m., I mute my WhatsApp because we have so many groups, and I informed everyone. Like, if it's super urgent, life or death, you can call me on my phone. But because if you don't put boundaries, then you become slave for your business. And we didn't start entrepreneur to become slave. We started to be better, to have a better lifestyle, and to have a better impact on others. So we have to practice what we preach. It's a journey. I'm not saying it's something easy. I'm not saying that it's smooth. I'm not saying that I'm not struggling with it, but it's really about that, giving yourself a check-in. Give yourself, like, at the end of, you can't do it weekly, do it at the end of the month, and look at, okay, how have I been spending my time? Have I been taking care of my physical being, my emotional well-being, and my mental well-being, and my finances, etc., etc. So decide what are the dimensions that matter to you, and some dimensions can change. Maybe now what matters to me is the finances. I need to make my business work. And then later on, but that couldn't be at the expense of your family for so long. For example, you're like, okay, I need to stop now. I need to just keep thinking that it's like a wheel, for a car or for a vehicle to be able to move, you need to have balanced wheels. So if you don't have balanced wheels, you're not going to be able to move. And so once we have that self-awareness, that well-being is key, we need to bring some balance, then it becomes a priority. And trust me, if you have a burnout, then everybody's going to suffer, including a business.
How do you advise entrepreneurs to stay agile and adapt to market shifts and economic changes? Can you share an example of a business that successfully navigated such challenges?
Yes, well, I think it's very easy to give examples for everybody who lived COVID-19. That was a very big disruption. And I'll give you an example of a very small business, somebody who had personal training for personal training business, where they were sending personal trainers to from the gyms, like personal trainers to people gyms. Okay. And yeah, and that you could not go to anybody's, and we were all in lockdown. So what they did is they created the virtual classes, so they continued the work, and they immediately worked on a platform while the clients could still connect with their personal trainers, but do online personal training, where they were showing them what to do. So that was it's an example that comes to mind immediately. They could have just said, "Oh my God, that's it. We're just going to go out of business because we can't. Nobody can go to the gyms, and we can't send our personal trainers to our clients." But they immediately switched that. They made it in a way that people could follow. They made it in a way that they could see each other. They created the space for them. They did they created the whole atmosphere and helped everyone create a space so that they could continue that relationship. So it's, at the end of the day, how can we do that? So if you, and in my book, Seeds of Change, the subtitle is how to be relevant in an ever-changing time. So that's exactly what I like working with. It's really asking the question. It's not about being the best. It's not about being the leader. It's not about being the most disruptive. It's about being relevant in a never-changing world. No matter what kind of sophisticated product you come up with, no matter what sophisticated technology that you invent, it's in these times that we're living, the shelf life, I would say, is very, very short now, and you could become obsolete very, very, very shortly. So it's really about asking yourself, or asking ourselves, how can I keep being relevant to the end of the day, to your customers or your employees, whoever are your stakeholders that are making your business exist, and on whom the business relies for its scaling, for its existence. Once you ask that question, where do you think the answer will come from? If I answer this question, from where the answer will come? From the stakeholders themselves, from your customers. So it's if you are tuned to the needs of the customer that you're selling your product or your service to as an entrepreneur, because we only exist as businesses if we have customers. Otherwise, we're not business. And even if, or even if we want to talk about, even if we are in the government, we are serving, let's say we are serving citizens, for example. So we are serving somebody. That's why we exist. Yeah. That's why we're being paid. So at the end of the day, if you started from the beginning, that's why I keep insisting, the answer is always on the field. If you have started your business right, which means you have designed with your customers, remember I said that earlier? Yeah. If you have designed with them, means you have spent enough time listening to their needs. You have spent enough time recording their fears, their worries, their anxiety. What are they complaining is not existing in the market? What are they wishing was existing in the market? And if you take note of that in the right way, that informs you of what needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, you're serving a need. It doesn't matter how. If you're delivering it home or you deliver it online, or if they go take it in the shop, what matters to them? It's the convenience. You're not selling a product. You're selling affordability. You're selling convenience. You're selling variety of tastes. You're selling the variety of quantity. So it's that value proposition. Once you know what's the value proposition and you detach it from the commodity of the product, you will know how you will keep selling the convenience, how you will keep selling the affordability, the ease of getting things. So that's why I always ask entrepreneurs, do not tell me about, I don't want to hear about your product. I want to hear the value that you're giving to your customers. And that's what matters, because you want to stick to the value, and because that's what matters to customer. The value proposition, you want to stick to it. The way it looks, the way the product will come could look different. I'm going to give you an example of a very famous brand, and I want everybody to listen to it. Maybe you're too young to know about Fujifilm. Maybe most of you guys who are listening would be too young to know Fujifilm. Maybe you're too young to know that, because when we were kids, as Gen X, when we were kids, we didn't have smartphones. We didn't even have mobile phones as kids. And nobody had mobile phones when I was a kid. So when we were taking pictures, there were this film, this roll that we put in the camera that has 24 or 36 pictures. And sometimes you wait for 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the holiday until you develop the pictures, and none of them is great. You can't delete it and take it. So it's not how it feels. So Fujifilm had those rolls, okay? They don't exist anymore, right? What did they do? Did they go obsolete? So at the end of the day, what industry is Fujifilm? It's in visuals, imagery, right? Yeah. So they identified that some of the technology that they use to make those films could be used for cosmetics. So of course it's not called Fujifilm; it's a different brand. However, the company pivoted into cosmetics, using the resources into something, but they stayed still in the value proposition of we make you look good. It's image. Yeah. So that's why I say, I give this example of an international brand to say that at the end of the day, it's really about seeing how the behaviors of our customers are evolving. What do they care about? I'll give you another example. Crayola. Crayola is the crayons for kids. So most kids have iPads now. So they won't use crayons. Most of them, they still use in some countries. So Crayola has launched, again, a makeup for girls. So instead of using the crayons to paint, Little girls can use those, they're safe, so they can use them for like body paint or to make, like face painting, etc. Because they're not using crayons. So what do? How can we switch? So it's about listening, continuing to see the shift in the behavior of your end user, customer or end user. When it's kids, it's not really your customer, but end user, and try to remain relevant. But that only happens if you are attuned to the trends, if you inform yourself by being out there, by attending industry conferences, by reading a lot, by listening. Just listen, engage. That's why in my book I say first we need to sense what's happening. We sense the trends, and then we engage with the important stakeholders. We ask the right questions. We just keep, what do you like now? How are you spending your time? Are you still using the phone? You're not using the phone? Well, you're not using, what matters to you? How are your kids playing, etc.? And it's about reading between the lines. You ask the open questions, and then you get the insights. Insights are not, it's not data. Data is what people tell you, yeah, I want 1, 2, 3. Insight is, how do they say it? Do they hesitate? Did I ask them 3 deeper questions? Did I dig deeper to understand more? 2 skills. If we use them wisely, we won't need any other. I say that with full confidence. And those 2 skills are asking the right questions, listening the right way. If we ask the right questions and listen the right way, we won't have problems, probably won't have wars, we won't have conflicts, etc. It's really about asking questions to understand and listening with empathy, not listen to answer. Sometimes we listen just to prove our point. It's listening to others and empathizing with them.
Absolutely, Hanane. Being relevant and asking empathetic questions are crucial qualities for entrepreneurs. If all entrepreneurs embrace these qualities, the entrepreneurial landscape would undoubtedly transform for the better.
Absolutely. It might sound, yes, listen with empathy. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Yes.
How crucial is networking in the entrepreneurial journey, and what are some effective strategies for building and leveraging a strong professional network?
Have you heard the quote that says, your network is your net worth? That says it all.
You're right.
Your network is your net worth. And I think in the age we live in today, it's much easier than we've had it. You know, I mean, you need to travel to be part of global conferences, for example. You needed to make sure that you attend events. You needed to go and meet people in person to find out who they are. You needed to go to libraries to find phone books and find who's who and read magazines. Now it's so easy. It's in the palm of your hand. All the groups. Do you have LinkedIn, social media, just like the professional social media, or even the TikToks of the world? So much information. I think now the issue is not the access to information. The issue is there's so much. There's a tsunami of data, tsunami of information that you need to be selective. There's too much of information. You need to select. You need to understand who do you want to network. You don't want to be in every single. Networking is not about being in every single event out there and shaking as many hands as possible, because that could be exhausting. It's really about researching first. Pick monthly, a meetup that you want to be part of, or 3, 4 major conferences, one local, one regional, one international, for example, every quarter. And you can even attend virtually. There's so many places that you can attend virtually. Be out there. Just be out there, ask questions, meet people, and do not be afraid to ask questions. If somebody rejects you, okay, fine. You just, adults. It's not, they're not going to bite you. Worst thing can happen, you go to someone and they're like, sorry, I don't want to talk to you, or hands up the phone on you. So what?
How can someone cultivate the skill of asking thoughtful questions and being an empathetic listener? You've touched on something very important. As entrepreneurs, or even in general, listening is a challenging yet vital skill. Many people ask questions but don't truly listen because they already have preconceived answers in their minds. This can lead to missing valuable insights. As you mentioned, listening to customer feedback can make a significant difference. The same applies to networking. Listening attentively and empathetically to others helps you understand their perspectives and challenges.
I'm going to add another point. I'm not going to say it's another skill because it can fit in the questioning, is being curious. That's one thing we were born with, but we lose it. As soon as we're probably 5 or 6, we start conforming. Just be curious about others. Do not assume. No matter what. Is that what you meant? Do you mean it's not like, oh, they say that, so that means this is what we all, and it's human. And whatever I'm saying is note to self, by the way. Nothing I'm saying, I'm like 100%. It's not like it's on my checklist. Even what I'm saying, I keep repeating it to myself to keep reminding myself. It's really about being curious. Just be curious. Don't judge. Curiosity is very important for innovation, very important for entrepreneurs. Once you start and challenging assumptions, because when you're like, don't draw conclusions. Just keep asking. What do you mean? What? Just like kids do, you know how when you tell a kid something like, "What do you mean?" and then comes an answer, because it's like that. That's it. Shut up. And that's it. That kills the curiosity. And they start, okay, it's because like that. And trust me, that's what we don't realize. This is how we kill innovation. And so we were born to be innovative. We are all curious. All kids are curious. They're like, why are we not eating sweet with sour? And you're like, because it's like that. Why are we not putting sugar in this? Why are we not putting salt? I'm just talking about really simple things. And you just tell them, no, you can't do that. You can't draw on the wall. It's forbidden. You can't do that. Although we can just explain to them that you can. It's just that it's better if you find, another place to draw because the wall is full. But when you start saying, no, it's not like that, then they start assuming. So, and it's a shortcut because we are human. We want a shortcut. We don't want to keep thinking. So there is one philosopher that I follow. I really love his work. His name is Carl Jung. Jung is written as Carl Jung, J-U-N-G, but it's pronounced Jung, Carl Jung. And he's the founder of modern psychology. He says, people don't think, that's why they prefer to judge. So sometimes, because we don't want to think. It's easier. We all come with our own biases. It gives us a shortcut to assume. We look at a person, they come from this place, they must be like that. So I put them in that box. It makes it easier for me. I take a decision based on them. Or this idea won't work. Oh, you know how many times I heard, this won't work in this country. These people are like that. How do you know? It's an assumption,
At the Mohammed bin Rashid Foundation, you develop programs to encourage innovation. What critical elements are needed to build a thriving innovation ecosystem? And how can entrepreneurs and policymakers collaborate to cultivate it?
Well, the first thing we need is, I think that's what's still missing, maybe we're working on it in our region, is the R&D and innovation labs, the research and developments. We need a collaboration between the private sector, academia, and the government together. So it's a tripartite relationship to allow this research and development. Because the program that we have worked on was with a private sector company. I don't want to name it. And the idea was to call engineering students. So it has to start at an early level. So we have all these students who are studying all the time. I'm talking, probably things have changed now, I hope so. And they are studying engineering, but they keep studying theory. Maybe they experiment a little bit in the labs, but nothing from their real life. So this company, who had products that have to do with lifestyle, and some of them are health products, collaborated with the foundation at the time to come up with, to run a call for concepts in some engineering universities in the Arab region. And the students who had ideas that fit within the product category were sent to the research and development center, the research and development lab of this company in Europe, to learn in that proper research and development, not a small lab in a university. So we wanted to expose these students from early age, how they can improve that idea and have the proper support from the factory where this multinational is producing those products that we are using every day, and they are there to really rub shoulders with proper engineers. So that was the idea. Take a student with an idea, come back with a prototype. That's what we need to work on.
Absolutely, Hanane. Unfortunately, there is a significant gap in research and development centers RD in this region. I hope to see more RD initiatives, especially in Africa, as they could really make a difference. Now, let's dive into pitching to investors. What are the key elements of a successful pitch to investors? Can you share any common mistakes entrepreneurs make during their pitches?
Yes, pitching is one of my favorite topics. My favorite sessions that I do, even for group classes. And I come in and I show them a slide that showcases, okay, a viable business model, showcases budgets, value proposition. So I have a whole checklist. And then I say, do you think this is a viable business proposition? Everybody said, yeah, or maybe they say, yeah, you need, so I put financials, this and that, like all the checklists on the business plan or the business model. And then I show the second slide that has the same checklist with a big X. And then I put down there, it's a compelling story or a good story. And some of them challenge me, yo, but investors want to know about the money. I'm like, yeah, I just said a convincing story. Convincing story would also have financials, but you need to tell a convincing story and tell it in a way that convinces these people. And I'll tell you why. At the end of the day, these are people. That's why I use the word people. These are human beings. And I'll tell you why I firmly believe in that. I have judged many competitions. I've been part of many demo days, and I've seen entrepreneurs. I would see two entrepreneurs. They both have good ideas. They both have the full deck. The pitch deck is full. They want check. They have financials. They have value proposition. They did their market research, the whole thing. Some win, some don't. Why do you think so? Equally equipped. Why, in your opinion? If I take a guess.
I will say the human touch is crucial because you're trying to connect with the people you're pitching to. In my opinion, storytelling is key as it allows people to relate to the problem you're trying to solve. What are your thoughts on this?
It captivates them. Of course, we don't want to be there just telling stories as in stories, but we want to tell a compelling story. Compelling story will have financials, because I had so many telling me they didn't understand it. They just think telling a story in the broad meaning of the word. I'm like, oh, you're just telling stories. It's like, no, you need to tell a story that makes sense. That's the word I used. And like you said, these investors are humans. They have interests. You don't want to be there on stage saying, hi, my name is Hanane, and I have this business, and this is the idea, and this is what it's going to do, and this is the product, and this is the tech we're using, and we're going to make this much money, and this is the stock, this is the size of the market, and blah, 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 blah. And you just go there and boom, 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 like a robot. I want to get there and say, imagine that we have 65% of young people in Africa that are under 25. By 2020, we will need to find jobs for 100 million people. That's 100 million aspiring dreamers that cannot find a job. How is that going to affect the economy, the society, the security? That's why we need to create an ecosystem that helps create jobs so that we reduce the need of employment. I could have just kept there and said, my idea is to create an ecosystem that will be teaching entrepreneurship. When I start that way, what is the difference between these two? I make you see the problem as an investor instead of just giving you facts and say, I made the research, there is 100 million, we need to make jobs, and that's why, and that's valid, and I think there is a size there is enough market. We need to do this and we need to do that. But when I start touching and feeling like, oh my God, yes, security, yes, we don't take care of this problem, it's going to be bad. We're going to be losing these kids. They might go to drugs. They might do this. They might do that. You start making them feel that problem is real. I have facts, but I didn't use just facts. And I didn't just use emotions. So it's really about balancing between touching their heart and their brain. Touching their heart by bringing something emotional. No matter what you are, even if you are starting a bakery and like, don't you, all of us, you would wake up to the fresh cooked bread by your mom. And then everybody can connect with that. Okay? And then you say, well, in Morocco, everybody eats bread. So 75% of people eat bread. So I'm giving you facts, but at the same time, I'm giving you that smell of fresh bread, which is emotional. So I'm giving very simple, simplistic examples, but the idea is the same. No matter what you are pitching, you are pitching to humans. Those humans want to know the word, want to know the facts, want to know the numbers, want to know that your numbers are right, that your spreadsheets are right, but they also want to feel that, yeah, this is going to make a change. This is going to impact the lives of people. This is going to give a service that's going to create convenience, that's going to reduce traffic, that's going to do this and that. So balance between touching their heart and emotions and touching their brain with the facts. That's how I can summarize it.
Can you share insights on what investors in the UAE prioritize when evaluating startups? And what strategies can entrepreneurs use to position their ventures as attractive investment opportunities?
Yeah, most investors here, they appreciate when something is, let's say, homegrown, which means it's going to solve a local or a regional problem. Scalability is key. How are you going to sustain? How are you going to avoid that competition can come and disrupt you quickly? So do you have a vision for how you're going to sustain yourself? Let's say no matter what you launch, if you have an idea and you tell me you can, switch off the laptop and go start copying it. So what is your differentiator? What makes you immune, let's say, to being taken by competition quickly? That's one answer. That's one question that you need to have a convincing answer for. And how are you going to scale? Is your concept, yes, you might start only in a small country, but do you have plans to scale? Or at least you have the potential. You can say in 5 years, but you know that this product or service I'm coming up with is scalable to Africa, to East Europe, to Asia, which means that it's going to keep growing. They need to have that conviction that it's scalable. They need to have the conviction that you know your numbers, and they appreciate. I would say it's a bonus when it's something that's homegrown, not just a copy.
How can entrepreneurs balance profitability with social impact in their business models? What are some examples of companies that have successfully achieved this balance?
You talked about my sweet spot. This is for me, that's the sweet spot, and that's the vision that I have. I feel that, I dream of a day where all businesses are solving. Business is the one that's solving social and environmental problems. It's not about looking at it as fragmented. This is how we've been doing business. We go for hardcore profits, and then we say, well, let's dedicate some of those profits to social cause, which is nice. It's commendable, but it's not going to sustain us. And that's what I try to work on. When I work with the youth and in all my programs, I try to embed that social, let's call it the sustainability impact, because social change is also part of sustainability. It needs to be part of the business model. For example, if we're talking about social challenge of including minorities, then it has to be part of my business model. If I want to reduce the not so eco-friendly elements, then I'm going to produce something, that I'm going to source products or raw material that is fair trade, that could be recycled, that's not going to harm nature, etc. So when I'm building my business model, I can choose the social elements or the environmental elements that I'm going to include, which is going to be part of how I'm making my business. Not, okay, I'm going to build a business and part of my proceeds will go to charities. I personally, I'm not judging anyone, but I personally don't believe this model is going to sustain us. We can't, because our challenges are so complex that we cannot solve them with this model. We can only solve them if we start building business models that have the sustainability elements embedded in the very way we do business. I'll give you an example. Somebody who started a fashion business, okay? The material that they're using, first of all, they buy in from certain villages in Asia and Africa that have very poor women, for example. So they're getting only the products from there. So which means they're creating jobs for those villages. That's one. And they're creating fashion that's using recycled material. For example, dresses that are made from, I don't know, old, they're making bags, for example, from old bags of coffee. You know how the bag of coffee, how do we call those? That are made from straw. So instead of throwing those, they are utilizing creativity from youth. So they're including that creativity to create models of products that where the raw material is from recyclable material. So instead of throwing, when we finish, you know those big bags that when we buy coffee in big quantity, it comes in these bags that are made from straw. Yeah. So yes. So instead of throwing them, they started making handbags, beach bags, and other elements, decorative elements. So which means, okay, I'm here selling this stuff, but instead of going and buying a new fabric that probably, in order to produce it, we use so much energy, we use so much water. Like, for example, what the denim industry is doing when you watch a documentary about, oh my God, denim, and to reach those washes, like the light wash, the dark wash, if you see how much energy is wasted, you'll start boycotting them, for example. So it's really about understanding how can I produce alternatives and educate customers that when you buy this is how much you save them, and these are the people that you are helping. For example, there's a cosmetic concept, organic cosmetic concept that I work with an entrepreneur on, and she was getting her shea butter from a place in Africa, again for women, and those women are still showing the livelihood, how she's improving the livelihood of these women by sourcing uniquely from them, even if it was costing a little bit more, because she wants to help these people. So these are some of the examples that I could.
Absolutely right, Hanane. If you look at the current landscape, brands and businesses that are truly implementing social impact and sustainability initiatives are thriving. Customers connect with them because they value the positive contributions these companies are making. It's satisfying to know that a portion of your money is supporting something meaningful. I think this is an important and positive trend.
It's a trend, which is good. It's a trend, and I think that the new generation, I would say Gen Z onwards, even some of the millennials, we started seeing this awakening, this consciousness of we want to live a purpose-driven life. Everybody feels that responsibility. Just look around us at what's happening in the news. You can see that there are so many young people that feel for the others, that feel more empathy, more compassion, that really don't want to live a life where that is very individualistic. They want to be in the impact, which is great. And I love that, and I support them, and I want to see more of that. And I keep advocating for it.
Your latest venture, Tawazun, focuses on cultivating balance. Can you dive deeper into its vision and mission and discuss some key initiatives or programs that you're developing?
Of course, sure. I think we have already covered a few of them. Like when we talked now about embedding the social impact, because balanced, our mission, our vision, actually, we say together for a more balanced, equitable world, sustainable world for all. And it's really about engaging those multiple stakeholders so we can bridge the gaps, whatever they are. I talked about how entrepreneurs need to bring balance to themselves. We start with people. When you look at it, it's to build a balanced world, you need to bring balance to self first, because there's a saying in Arabic that means if you're missing something, you can't give it. You can't serve from an empty cup, basically. So if your cup is empty, you can't serve from it. So you need to fill your cup first before you can serve others. So if your cup, so that's you need that. So we're trying to build this new generation that understands that self-care is not selfishness. You need to take care of yourself first. Then you take care of the workplace, whether it's your business or your team. You need to build a balanced self, then a balanced workplace. Balanced workplace means inclusive, happy, engaged, where everybody's taking care of everybody, where there is a team spirit, and then society. So it's in this order. If I'm not balanced myself, I'm gonna care less for the workplace. And if I'm the workplace, if I'm not feeling fulfilled and engaged and happy and taken care of, how am I going to give back to society? So self, workplace, society, and then planet. I mean, some people start talking about recycling and eco-friendliness before taking care of their own people at work. It doesn't not work. So Tawazun is advocating and educating and executing programs and initiatives that are shifting this narrative, we call ourselves the ecosystem of balance. We want everyone to look at balance as a holistic offering. I can't just think of myself without thinking about my workplace, or I can't just keep building richness without feeling responsible for other people who are in other places, who are living still off $1 a week or $1 a day, whatever it is. I mean, we want to bridge the gaps. There are so many gaps now on all levels, so many gaps, and we're doing it one pillar at a time. But the idea is, how can we have this narrative of holistic look at balance, where everybody feels, I need to feel well, I need to be good, not bully anybody, be good to others at my workplace. I need to think about the poor or the people who have special needs, or like be inclusive to people who are different than me, which is society, and give back. And I need to embrace an eco-friendly, sustainable lifestyle. It's one. That's and I think it would work with the youth. That's why we have a program called Seeds of Sustainability. And we took the acronym of SOS, which is, the emergency sign, because it's an urgent need. So Seeds of Sustainability is a program for kids, because we feel it's easier to start just planting that seed from now, so that they understand that it's their responsibility. By the time they are adults, they know they have grown embracing that responsibility of bringing balance to themselves, to the workplace that they will be leading, to the society, and to the planet.
Your commitment is commendable, Hanane. The work you're doing with Tawazun, focusing on cultivating balance, is incredibly impactful. Starting with young kids and instilling those values early on is crucial. The balance they bring to society will be very important for the future. What emerging technologies do you see as most transformative for entrepreneurs in the next 5 years? How can they prepare to integrate these technologies into their businesses?
I think the buzzword these days, we all know, I'm going to give you a guess, talking about AI. And it's here to stay, and it's here to disrupt. It's already disrupting everything we're doing. So we need to work with it, not against it. It comes with its own set of challenges, like any new tech. So AI is here to stay. It's going to keep being developed. It's going to take different shapes, and we need to work with it. A lot of people tell me AI is going to take over jobs, and I say, no, AI is not. It's not AI that's going to take your job. It's a person who knows how to use AI. That's it. It's really, we could sit there and just keep, and that's what passive people do. They just blame it on, AI is going to come at the weekend. That's it. It's robots are going to take over. Since the world started, we've been evolving. Yes, now it's very fast. It's very sophisticated. It's the space, the speed and the scope and the pace at which we are developing is very fast, unprecedented. But that's how it was when we moved from using horses to cars, when we moved from agriculture to manufacturing, and then internet, and then from internet to automation, then internet, and now we are on this new tech. So it's every revolution comes with its own opportunities and challenges. It's just about embracing that mindset of how can I remain relevant? That's the key question. And being agile to learn. I'm not saying yes, it's scary times. We have all these security issues. The technology is really disrupting everything we do. But our responsibility is to see how we can remain relevant. How do we integrate? Probably it's going to make it much easier. If we look at the cup half full, or the glass half full, maybe by using these artificial intelligence, we can probably have a shortcut. Maybe it will take away all the unnecessary work. Maybe it will give us more room to be creative, because we have the brains to create. Instead of using time to do the repetitive tasks, maybe it will give us more room to be human again, because we became so automated. If we look at it this way, you work with it, not against it.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, what are the key trends shaping the future of entrepreneurship? How can today's entrepreneurs position themselves to capitalize on these trends?
Well, the trends now is everything is tech. You have the edutech, agri-tech, fintech, health tech. So all the industries have a new techs integrated in it. So whichever field that you want to be in, I think the trends will continue. E-commerce will continue. Like I said, artificial intelligence will be a big part of whatever we do. And there is more, like in every industry, even in travel, everything is being digitized. So digitization or digitalization is the name of the game. The blockchain, the Internet of Things, all these fancy words. It's really about seeing how to integrate them. But again, we're not going to be integrating the trends just because they are trends. If we continue, again, I'm going to go back to my golden rule. The golden rule is to think about the end user. Just think about the end user. What are they looking for? You might have an end user that if you integrate sophisticated technology, you're just not going to have good customer experience. So when you always start from how is this going to improve the experience of my end user if I use AI or not? So it's not about everybody's using it, let's do it. Everybody's online, let's go online. Why are you using it? How is it going to matter in a way that matters more to your customer? How is it going to improve your value proposition? If it's not going to improve your value proposition, maybe you don't need it. So trends or not, we want to be aware of the trends, but what we want to be more aware of is how is it relevant to the needs of the growing or the shifting behaviors of my end users.
Absolutely right, Hanane. While AI and blockchain are trendy and impressive, they're not suited for every business. It's essential to look at your business and ask tough questions about whether these technologies are truly necessary. Often, business owners jump on the AI or blockchain bandwagon without fully assessing if these technologies are a good fit for their specific use case.
Yes, it's not for you. It's suitable for your end user, for your customers, for the business. And end users are the one who are giving existence to your business. For example, everybody thinks, okay, everything's going to be AI. I feel personally as Hanane, I feel that I want to be I'm not going to be running a chasing to be updated all the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe that I always use humanizing business. Maybe the more digitized we're going to be, there will be a niche of people that don't want to be digitized, that want to go back to being human again. Definitely. So maybe that's the trend that I'm going to be in. That's the trend that some people need to follow. I know that there will be, for example, digital detox kind of an industry, because we're so connected. Look at all these kids with their games and all this gamification. Maybe I will look into something that's not digitized. I'm going to take people and put them in digital detox in the retreats and take their phone away from them like a rehab. maybe that's a business I'm going to follow. You say trends. Yes, exactly. You say trends. And the minute you say trends, people want to say blockchain and use all these fancy words. Maybe the trend will be that, okay, people will be exhausted and they need to be somewhere where they have normal conversations, not on text. Maybe that's an innovative idea, a disruptive idea. Yeah. So it's what I'm trying to say, and this just came to mind now as I'm speaking to you. Don't follow the trend just to follow the trends of what's going on in the news. Look at the needs, keep digging deeper. Listen, if people are saying, oh my God, we are on the phone all the time, it's so tiring. I dream of being on an island or something. Then you're like, there is a need there. Some people might be able, if I say that I have a resort where no Wi-Fi is working. Some people might say, no way, nobody can live without Wi-Fi. But you make it like a rehab, you make it like a challenge. Come here and live like you travel in time, like you're in the 90s. Maybe that's going to be it.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. A retreat with no technology could be a fantastic business concept where people can spend days without looking at their phones or connecting to the internet. It would provide a quality time for themselves to unwind and reconnect. I really love this idea.
We have a rising issue with mental health. That's something that we talk about a lot in Tawazu. So that's why I'm like, look at the rising needs. Don't, because sometimes we get stuck with, we want to be trendy. We want to be trendy, and then almost as if I have a business idea that does not involve new tech, nobody's going to accept me. Well, probably it's not true. Just follow what you're all about. I'm into balance. I might use a platform, a tech that will allow me to scale, that will allow me to reach Africa, that will allow me to connect maybe the youth to mental wellness coaches that help them. But that's just going to be a tool. It's not that I'm coming with a tech solution. I'm just using it as a tool. But my main passion and my main value proposition is to help people live a balanced life and feel responsible of making the world better than they found it. That remains the main mission.
Can you share a memorable success story of an entrepreneur you work with? What were the key factors that contributed to their success?
The key factors, well, I would remember somebody who had there's so many, but I'm going to remember something very simple. Someone who had a talent when she was a kid of making jewelry, okay, and didn't know, like, she found herself without a job, and we were there trying to help her, and then kept digging. That's why I said, when you want to find your passion or talent, you keep remembering, going back, what was I doing, what was I enjoying? And we found out that she used to enjoy making beaded jewelry, okay? And then, like, okay, then how about you start creating things like that? And she started creating them, not thinking that it could become business, and would advise her to start selling in flea markets. Just make unique pieces, because she was so passionate about it. She was coming up with very unique designs. And it just happened that she chose communities where there is a need for art. So I started going to art flea markets, and suddenly there was a rising demand, but she didn't know anything about business. So the job was to teach her very basic notions of what marketing is, how to talk to customers, how to start noting what people are liking more, what are they missing, what do they wish for, and then preparing things for example, all the holidays, because here it's very diverse. There's so many holidays. There's Christmas, there's Persian New Year, there is Diwali for the Indians, etc. And started finding the niche, and then making these marketing strategies. And before you know it, she opened, after a couple of years, so she opened the shop. And that started just from, okay, there is a niche that needs artistic handmade things. Oh, the market is crowded. And I'm passionate about, I used to like making beads just for fun. And that was converted into a money-making business that grew and scaled, and now has a online business and became like had multiple shops, etc. But it all started from simple finding out what you're passionate about, finding out the opportunity. So talent, opportunity, and passion. That's the top.
That's great.
So that's a success story I like to tell because it's very simple. More than the people who come up with the tech solutions or the apps, etc. Because for me that's close to my heart, really. Because you changed lives. You went from somebody who's desperate and saying that I have no job, I haven't finished my studies, what am I going to do with my life? To making them an entrepreneur who's making money, who's happy, who's passionate, who's delivering pieces that people are appreciating. So you have that's what we talked about, bringing balance to self, to the people, to society in one small example of entrepreneurship.
What was one of the most significant personal challenges you faced in your entrepreneurial journey, and how did you overcome it?
Many, actually. It's not just one. There were many challenges. First, like I said, because I only had a vision, not a tangible product. When you have a vision, and I was very passionate about it, and I assumed that everyone would see it the same way I'm seeing it. That was very challenging to pitch solutions that usually it's government authorities that work on. And here I was trying to sell this vision without being an established brand, without having a backup. It was just an idea. So it's like, okay, what is a tangible product? So that was the first challenge. Second challenge is which goes with the other one is the financing, because it's very hard to have seed financing, especially at the time. Everybody wanted you to show success for 3 years before they can finance you. So it was like a chicken and an egg situation. So finances, having people believe in you, and finding peer support or spaces that would help, like whatever I'm trying to do now, that's what I was missing. Finding the real support, or finding companies that are willing to take risk in you. I mean, all the companies talk about how they want to promote entrepreneurship, but they promote entrepreneurship by probably financing an event or going to incubators and sponsoring it. But how many of these businesses, now I know it's changing, but at the time, how many were willing to take the risk and say, hey, we don't have to work with the big four. Come in, let us give you a chance. That's how you support businesses, not by giving them a business plan competition or an event and where everybody's pitching and you sponsor their knowledge, an 8-week program, and then after that, who's going to buy that product? Are you willing to buy from them? Are you willing to dedicate your procurement, a portion of your procurement, to those small businesses?
Absolutely. You've touched on a very important point. Organizing competitions, seminars, and workshops is great, but one of the most crucial aspects is what happens afterward. When startups go out to seek business, many companies and enterprises hesitate to work with them due to perceived high risks. However, if these startups don't get business, they can't grow. Simply sponsoring workshops and competitions isn't enough. Companies need to dedicate a portion of their procurement to new startups and entrepreneurs. Empower them by actually doing business with them.
Correct, absolutely. That's what I advocate for. That's whatever I even wrote an article. I will send it to you and you can share it. I said, teaching them how to fish is not enough. We need a space in the ocean, which means, they say that, okay, by giving entrepreneurs knowledge, you're teaching them how to fish rather than giving them a fish, which is the old proverb. So I added to it, extended it. It's great, but it's not enough, because you teach me how to fish. I know how to fish, but you're not giving me space in the ocean. What am I going to fish? So give me a space in the ocean so I can apply the knowledge that, thank you, I'm grateful for the knowledge you gave me, but you gave me a fish. You gave me the knowledge. You gave me the tool, but you close in the ocean. I can't fish in land. I need the ocean. So I that article with you, and I was hoping that it raises awareness. And I keep talking about it always when I'm in conferences, that empowering entrepreneurs is not just making conferences and making all those spaces with the fun spaces and making startup competitions and giving them the few thousands of dollars to start. That's not enough. It's good, but it's not enough.
How can entrepreneurs actively promote diversity and inclusion within their organizations? What are some effective practices you have seen or implemented?
Just by not missing a chance to talk about it, by showcasing, by there's so many channels now. By always showcasing that this is who we are, by giving them a voice, by amplifying what they do, by making them represent the company and whenever they can, by sharing videos where they're talking, by or they making interviews with them, having a bit of PR. I mean, it's very easy today with all the endless channels that we have. It's very easy to do. You just be out there and be genuine about it. Share their successes. Let them speak about something. Celebrate them. And diversity. So this is another topic that I've been very, very active on. And the diversity, inclusion, and gender balance. It's not about having more women only, because that does not solve it. And trust me, I've been running spaces for women for more than 10 years. Safe spaces where I listen to thousands of women speak about the challenges. And I'm talking about from a 22-year-old graduate all the way to a 55 board member, that and anything in between. Do we have the environment that is allowing these women to lead authentically, to lead with their feminine leadership model? It's not like, here, that's it. We're giving you a position. Are you happy now? Here, we have a woman. She's a C-level. Fine. But how come we haven't still solved the problem? Because it's not done the right way. It's not just about you give a woman a space or a position, she's promoted, but indirectly, she's called to lead like a man with a masculine model, which is not authentic. And then you have burnouts, and then you have a sense of overwhelm, etc.
Absolutely, but indulge my curiosity for a moment. Can you explain how having a feminine leader in a leadership role impacts the dynamics and success of an organization?
Okay, the feminine leadership, the good news for us as female, I always say that the future is female, not because of women, because you might have women who are leading with the masculine model. We won't have leadership variety. We want to have leadership variety, which means these are traits that psychologically are known to be innate in females. Men can have them, but just for the sake of the definition, when we think about masculine model, we're thinking about courage, we're thinking about risk-taking, we're thinking about decisiveness, assertiveness. Okay, when we think feminine model, we're thinking empathy, we're thinking more listening, we're thinking about participatory decision making, we're thinking about holding the space for others, risk aversion, which fortunately, these are the traits that are needed in this unpredictable landscape that we are in. We can't just go, do it, go for it. So the feminine model, these are the traits. So because women happen, or most women, I would say, happen to have them naturally, it means that when we have more women, we are spreading these traits, or at least we are having a balance. Because it's about having variety of leadership, not having men and women, or not about having more women. Because again, if we are bringing all women and removing men, we're not having diversity. We're being biased towards women. And I don't like that. I'm all about proper diversity. We need both, because we bring different models and we need that balance in order to innovate, because diversity means different points of view. Different points of view means different perspectives, means more chance to innovate. That's how I look at it. It's good for business. It's not just a social cause.
What initiatives or programs have you found to be most effective in supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs? How can the broader entrepreneurial community contribute to these efforts?
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely entrepreneurs who are in New York have better chance with so many initiatives that are there because it's very advanced. However, there is access now online, and there's, there are a lot of groups that are accessible, that are opening doors. To be honest, I feel that in Africa we're missing that. These are some of the initiatives I would like to be part of, to be working on. I can't really think or name an initiative that's open for African entrepreneurs because I'm not active there. Actually, I want to, just starting to be open. So I don't want to be misleading. Maybe there are, but I'm not aware of them. I am educating myself on what's happening in Africa. I don't want to say something out of ignorance. So I am educating myself on what's existing. I'm glad to have met you. Probably the initiative that you are doing, the fact that you have me on this platform, this is an initiative that probably will be helping underrepresented entrepreneurs.
Yes, we would love to have you and others like you contribute to the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Your guidance, motivation, and inspiration would be invaluable for the younger generation, especially in Africa. My goal and dream are to see more flourishing entrepreneurs from the continent.
I would love to. I'm open for it. I feel it's a calling, as I said. So let's see how it's going to shape. Yeah.
What unique challenges do women entrepreneurs face? And what advice do you have for overcoming these barriers? Can you share any success stories of women you've mentored?
But I think the first challenge, and that's something that now I'm very, very, strongly vocal about. The first challenge women have is by thinking, I am a female entrepreneur. That label needs to go. We don't say male entrepreneur, right? We don't say female, we don't say male entrepreneur, dad entrepreneur, masculine entrepreneur. Why do we say female entrepreneur, women entrepreneur, female leader, female architect, female engineer? That keeps confining us into a minority. So first challenge is coming from us. And I'm saying that with all openness and with confidence and with boldness. We have to stop thinking I am a woman. I'm an individual. What does gender have to do with it? Yes, we still have those issues, but I think they are coming more from the fact that we keep saying I am a woman, which means I start thinking I will have challenges because I'm a woman. I make an affirmation about these challenges and I go look for them. I think that's there. So this is when I work with many young women now. Maybe that's the mistake we made. I learned from it. Stop saying I'm a female entrepreneur. People bring, yes, there are a lot of challenges. There's less investment in women-founded startups. But sometimes I ask myself, maybe those numbers are coming from the fact that many women do not apply for those funds. Has anybody asked that question? When we say only, right? And I'm a woman and I'm saying that. So instead of sitting there and saying, oh, man, investors don't believe in women, that's why we only have 7%. We still have 1-digit percentage in investments in women or female-founded startups. And I started asking this question. Maybe they haven't applied. Do we know? Do we know if they were rejected, or we just have the statistic that only this much is being invested in? Do we know what's behind it? Probably what's behind it is that we are afraid to go, and we don't want to grow because we're afraid to grow, and that's going to interfere with our family duties, and we just want to stay small because that's going to take so much from our what we need to do as moms, for example. So my advice to entrepreneurs who happen to be female is just to think, I'm also an entrepreneur. Think about your talents, think about your passion, think about what you want to achieve, think about everything I spoke about without the label of being a woman. That's the most important advice I want to give. Once we start doing that, things will change. We need to lead that change. We can't sit back and like, oh, we women, nobody believes in us. So then we're gonna stay in a situation where we feel people are not fair to us, instead of let's move that needle. And let's move it by starting to ditch those labels.
If you could gift a single book to every entrepreneur in the world, which one would it be and why? Also, can you share one or two books that profoundly shaped your entrepreneurial journey and mindset?
For me, it was the book that shaped my life, I would say, is The Road Less Traveled. Road Less Traveled, because we entrepreneurs tend to pick a road less traveled. We if you're really true entrepreneur, you could have had a job or stable job, and you just choose a road less traveled, which has a lot of setbacks. And another book that also helped me is From Good to Great, because it gives examples of companies like big companies and multinationals that have managed to not settle for being good, but always aspire to be great, and how they did that.
Definitely.
A seeds of change.
I know.
Yeah, but no, it's not a self-promotion, trust me, because
Definitely, yeah.
when I wrote that book, it was 20 years of experience since the day I graduated. And what I have noticed from the experience of what was missing in the culture of in the enterprise, what is missing in the government in helping to promote more entrepreneurship, and what will help us build a lasting business and a human-centric business. And Seeds is a 5 steps. It's and I believe, and I'm working on it to become a program now. It's a leadership program. I believe strongly, with a lot of research that I've done, that these are the traits that we need to be a future-oriented, future or forward-thinking leader. You need to sense the trends. So to be a successful business leader or entrepreneur, you need to be sensing. Means you can't just think, because the data is changing so much. It's so much ambiguity. Look at what's happening around us, from COVID to the climate change, to the geopolitical situation, to the inflation. Everything around us in the past 5 years is crazy. To the new tax. We can't just predict based on what happened before, right? So we need to be able to follow sometimes our intuition and to develop that gut feeling and take a decision with courage of what feels right. So how do we cultivate that new intelligence that is needed in this very unpredictable world? It's a VUCA world. VUCA is, and you can Google it, and I call all the audience to Google it. There's so much about it. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And I have a whole chapter on VUCA and seeds of change. So in a VUCA world, you need to plant the seeds of change. You need to sense, because it's volatile, it's uncertain. You need to engage, like I've been talking about earlier. How do you engage? How do you ask the right questions? How do you communicate with your customers to be always alert and knowing how their behavior is shifting? What are they looking at? Which alternatives are they using? So you anticipate what they need. And same thing with your employees. Generation to generation is different. Now we are moving to a knowledge-based economy. Knowledge-based economy means you need the talent. There's a talent war, because everything is going to be automated. You just need the innovative people. The innovative people will be so rare that all companies will be having a war to get. We talk about a talent war. So if you want to be attracting the right talent as a business, you need to also know the needs of your employees. What do they like? How do you incentivize them? So I talk about having a system and a mechanism that allows you to keep engaging with your customers and employees always, so you anticipate their needs before they leave. When I say leave, even your customers can leave to a competition. How do you empower yourself with knowledge? That's the third letter, and that's the second E. How do you empower yourself so that you remain relevant? How do you empower your customers with choices, with transparency, so that they know that, because you need to empower your customers. Okay.
Seed of change is a must read book.
Yeah, and then develop is continuous development. You don't want to be the Nokias of the world. You want to innovate. And once you do that, the last S is, how do you sustain all of this? Because it's not about building a great business. How do you sustain the growth? It's a big question. So that's why I advise, I think, because it starts, it's very simple. I could come up with so many books that are out there from abroad, but this is written by someone who walked the ladder little by little, who's still going through the roller coaster. It's from everything that I heard, everything that I lived across continents. So definitely there are insights there. Okay. And also because we want these entrepreneurs who will be planting the seeds of change, as in so it has so many connotations, the social change. It's in our hands. We need to plant it today. Maybe your idea will not produce the change today, but that's why I call it a seed. You're planting a seed because you're thinking about the future generations. You don't want to start a business that's just going to create riches for you. I don't want those kinds of entrepreneurs in our region. I want the kind of entrepreneur that creates value for himself or herself, while not thinking that with this I'm not harming anybody. Actually, I'm creating more opportunities for my region, for my community, for my country, for my continent, for the world. So it's all of that in one.
Can you recall a moment when a failure, either yours or your parents, unexpectedly set the stage for future success? What is the story behind your favorite failure, and how did it become a pivotal moment in your career?
For me, the first thing when you say that, I thought about a friend who was made redundant from a very big position because of, when we had the financial downturn in 2008, 9, and then reached here in 2010, and many people were made redundant. And this person had a business idea in mind for so many years, but because she had this big position, was traveling all the time, never had a time to start a business. So while she was devastated because she lost a high-paying job, and I sat down with her and I was coaching her, and I said, well, what if this means that you don't have to look for another job immediately and give a try to your business idea that you've been so passionate about and wanting to try? Now you have the time. Instead of looking at it, you were made redundant, you're fired, you're jobless. Think about it as, now I have the time to try, and at least I'll give it a try for a few months or a year, and if it doesn't work, then I go back to looking for another job. And it turned out that the business worked. And because she would have never tried, because she would never had the time to give it a try. Always busy, the weekends for the family. There was no way she was going to do it in parallel or on the side. So, yeah.
Reflecting on the past 5 years, what new belief or habit have you adopted that has significantly transformed your life and work? How has this change impacted your day-to-day actions and long-term goals?
I think with maturity, with age comes maturity, with experience comes wisdom. And for me, it's that the definition of success, the metrics of success. Having my own metrics of success. What does success mean? When you tell people this person is successful, what does it mean? To whom? In whose eye? What are the metrics? So I liberated myself from the success metrics of what society looks at. Is it people who are making millions and driving the Ferraris and living in mansions, or is it when I have enough time and freedom and flexibility to do whatever I want with my life and giving away for that large opportunity of making more money? What is success? So that's the habit, and I would say the realization that success looks different to different people, and that what we see on the outside does not mean it's making everybody happy. I'm not saying that you have to sit there and not make money, but it's just, you can make money, but what kind of money you're going to make, and how much are you willing to give from your life to feel successful? When do you say enough? When is it enough for me to say I made it? So I saw when I started, because we can't help it. We keep comparing ourselves, especially with social media now. You look at other people, your peers, and you go, oh, what have I done wrong? And I had this awakening that I can have my own terms, my own definition of success. I don't have to compare myself to anybody. I only compare myself to what I was before, what I'm doing now. And if I'm feeling satisfied with what I'm doing, those failures are making me grow. I'm growing. I don't go through adversity. I started saying I'm growing through adversity. I just added a letter and it changed a lot. When I started seeing that whenever there is adversity, I grow through it. And when I came to the realization that I shouldn't strive for perfection, I should strive for balance. And that's why the word balance keep defining my life. So I want to invite everyone to face themselves in the mirror and say, what does success mean to me? And also, yes, it's great to have an audacious goal. It's amazing to have a vision. And I wish any one of you achieves whatever you wish for. Nothing is impossible. You can become a billionaire, you can become a millionaire, you can have the unicorn. That's amazing. All of that is great, is legitimate. Nobody can take away from you the right to dream about it, to visualize it, to want to make it happen. However, on the way there, don't forget to live. And don't forget to celebrate short wins. We all have audacious goals. Break it down into smaller goals. That's the secret to happiness. I make sure that I break down my goals to weekly. Let's say I want to achieve, I don't know, a contract that will cover at least 20 countries in Africa. Let's say that's me. I want to be active. I want to work with at least 20 governments in Africa. Let's say but I'm not going to wake up like, oh my God, I haven't achieved any of that. What does that mean now? That's probably in 2 years, 3 years. If I showed up in a podcast that's exposed to or that covers or has an audience from Africa, that's a short win for me. I'm going to be known there. So I celebrate this. It's not bringing me that project or that contract yet, but I break it down into milestones. What are your milestones to that goal? The goal of 3 years, break it down into goals of 1 year, break it down into what will take you there in month by month, and break it down into weekly so that every week you have that sense of being productive, of being one step closer. Otherwise, we get so overwhelmed and we would always feel like a failure because we have that big goal and we always keep thinking about it. Enjoy that journey towards there and celebrate those short wins. That's one habit I developed, and it's making me, alhamdulillah, I feel satisfied and fulfilled and content. It just means that you're grateful for every single small step that's taking you towards that big goal.
Imagine you have the chance to put up a billboard in the heart of Times Square with a message for millions to see. What would your message be? And what do you hope people take away from it?
I would tell them, my Times Square, it will be big. So I'll ask this question. That's whatever you do, ask yourself, okay, what am I doing today that will continue bringing positive impact even after I leave? How am I contributing to making the world better than I have found it? So each of us has to, no matter what you do, even if you are starting the most materialistic business, you need to align it to how with this you are contributing to making the world better than you have found it. And each of us have to keep asking that question every day.
Sometimes the smallest investments make the biggest impact. What purchase of $100 or less in the last 6 months has had a surprisingly positive effect on your life, and why?
Yeah, a ticket to a show, and that show was about well-being and wellness and well-being. So it's because I committed to doing things for myself. Sometimes so it's like I'm not just gonna do, because that's the commitment to balance. So buying that ticket to that, it's an event, actually not a show, it's an event where that was focused on mental, emotional well-being. So that's what I can recall immediately.
What is an unusual habit or specific thing that you love? And how does it fit into your daily routine?
I am a swimmer. I swam for competition since I was a kid. So don't know that. Yeah. So I make sure that I integrate swimming into my daily habits. And I'm also a cat mom. I have cats, and they're teaching me a lot. They're teaching me that it's okay to not do anything. It's okay to just relax. It's okay to be demanding and to be self-centered and just sit there and not take no from anybody. So I look at them and I learn a lot. So that's that sense of responsibility. I don't have kids, but I have cats.
So,
And they taught me the meaning of unconditional love. See, I would say nature is my teacher. So, and it is a part of nature. I have a garden. I do a lot of gardening as well. See, I grew up to a father who was a farmer, and we have a farm between Casablanca and Marrakesh in the region of Sittat. I mean, although we live in Casablanca, but we had a farm there. So probably this whole seeds and everything, it's all coming from my upbringing. And even here, I do farming. So I keep learning. You know, when we think about ecosystem, the concept is coming from nature, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at ecosystem, you feel that nothing lives for its own. The sun doesn't live for its own. The rivers don't run for their own. So that's the learning from the nature ecosystem. And when I take care of my pets, I feel like, okay, I don't expect them to be better than anybody else's pets. I don't expect them to understand what I tell them. So when I take care of them, I'm taking care of them because I feel that duty of care. And each of us need to have that duty of care towards something. And even with kids, sometimes we want them to be better. We want them to score well in school. Here, they taught me that I don't expect anything from them. I'm there to serve them. And that's an amazing feeling.
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've made, be it in time, money, or energy?
The time that I invested in teaching women from Palestine was from 2015. I'm doing that online. Actually, women in Gaza, because they have the blockade, and I volunteered to invest time to be speaking to them through Zoom, give them a window to the outside world. And I think that's the best time I invested, because the impact you see is priceless, truly priceless. It's the first thing that came to mind, to be honest.
For a passionate young entrepreneur fresh out of college, ready to dive into the real world, what unconventional advice would you offer to help them stand out? What common myths about entrepreneurship should they ignore?
Again, that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. That's the first thing. It's not for everyone. It's it needs to be, the foundation needs to be strong. They need to see the checklist if they fit. It's okay not to want to be a plus. I'm going to go back to actually the definition of entrepreneur, that you could be an entrepreneur even when you work for a company.
Yeah.
That it is a mindset. It's about being creative. It's about willing to serve the end user, because even if you work for a company or for a government, you are serving somebody. So embrace entrepreneurship as a mindset, whether or not you're going to have your business venture. There's a difference for me. I see that there's a difference between starting a business venture or startup and being an entrepreneur in your mind. So embrace that mindset regardless. It will benefit you to succeed and to have a sense of productivity and fulfillment, even if you are being paid a salary every month. Be an entrepreneur no matter what.
What bad recommendations do you hear in your professional area of expertise that you believe entrepreneurs should be wary of?
Be traction. For when people say it's all about traction, gain traction. And then you have all these people starting all kinds of businesses and they have subscribers, but there is no business model. There is no product. There's no service. There is no, it's just build it and have subscribers. That's the bad recommendation, because they're like, investors are looking for traction. Been hearing this for the past few years, and I feel that it's really a bad recommendation. It's not just about traction. It's about having a viable business model.
In the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to, and how has that improved your work-life balance?
Learning how to say no and set boundaries is the best thing that I learned. That's the best thing that has happened to me, because we all tend to want to be I don't want to use the word, but I'm using it, people pleaser, because you want to be the good guy or a good girl, and you don't want to say no, and it comes from the community, it comes from the upbringing. You can't say no, but I think saying no is crucial to your mental wellness, to be indecisive. So I learned to set boundaries, and I don't have to say no in the most aggressive way.
Yeah.
I learned to say no without saying no. I just say, for example, and you know what I do? I do this exercise in some of my trainings. I do this exercise and I give situation. I'm like, say no without saying no. And I teach even in like when we do leadership development or leadership programs, a lot of team members say, my biggest problem is that I get overwhelmed because I can't say no to people because I'm afraid they're not going to like me, or I can't say no to my boss, or things like that. So some of the exercise we do, you can say, now I'm busy, I can get back to you later, for example. Or I can look at it at 3 p.m. I can come to you at 3. Or you can just say, right now, I have other things to attend to. I didn't say no. I just say, right now, I have other things to attend to. From 9 o'clock, my WhatsApp is on mute. So I'm not saying do not message me. I'm just informing you that from 9 p.m., my WhatsApp is on mute. And I check my emails from 9 to 7, for example. So I'm telling you, no, don't come to me with things. So it's very, very important to set boundaries. Very important.
When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what strategies or practices do you use to regain clarity and drive?
I take a deep breath and I prioritize what's that there is a tool, 4 quadrants you can use. Some things are urgent, some things are important, some things are urgent but not important. Like some people keep sending you messages and you feel the sense of urgency, but they're not really important. And some things are not urgent, not important. So it's really about identifying things you're working on and say, okay, what needs to be attended to now? I have to choose 3 things, 3 most important. So prioritizing is a skill that's very, very important for especially for entrepreneurs, because otherwise you'll have a sense of overwhelm. You cannot solve everything.
Yes.
You have to learn how to prioritize.
Hanane, as an entrepreneur, maintaining personal health and fitness can often be as crucial as managing a business. Can you share how you integrate fitness and well-being into your busy schedule, and what impact do you feel it has on your effectiveness as a leader?
It's not about the impact. It is the foundation. Like I said earlier, you cannot serve from an empty cup. If when you go on the airplane, they ask you to put your mask first, then help others for a reason. Say when the oxygen mask drops, please help yourself first, then others. That's my motto. If you don't help yourself first, even if it's your kids, you see that in all the instructions and security instructions in the plane, right? They don't say take care of your loved ones, then take care of yourself. That's the learning right there. Because if by the time you're helping them, you don't have oxygen anymore, then you might not be able to help them, and you're gonna be gone, and they're gonna be gone. So you need to make sure your oxygen mask is on, then you attend to others. So that's how I go by it. And as I said earlier, in my calendar, I schedule gym time and lunch and food time. I say lunchtime. So even if I can be working, I'm not saying that I don't breach it. Again, I'm not here to say I'm a perfectionist or I'm somebody who's doing everything by the book. But these are some of the strategies that at least bring me back. Yeah, one day I might slack, 2 days I might slack, but not all the time. So I have the gym schedule. Sometimes I miss it. I mean, if I have an intervention with clients and I can't go, but I make sure I don't go 3 days without going to the gym, for instance. If I'm traveling, I take with me my gym clothes all the time. So I schedule it. I'm making it part of my business schedule because I am the business. I am the brand. If I'm not well, then everything will crumble. For me, it's not an option. It's part of, you cannot go. I keep asking myself, can I go without drinking water or eating? No. So I can go without going to the gym. So for me, it's a must. It's part of the vital activities.
Thank you, Hanane Benkhallouk. It's an honor having you today on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy these kind of platforms, and I aspire to inspire a few with my story, with whatever insights that I learned. I mean, it was all learned through the journey. I wasn't born with any of this. It's just that curiosity to learn. I learned the hard way. It's an ongoing roller coaster, and yeah, I'm enjoying every day. I'm taking it day by day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Entrepreneurship Unboxed. It's been an honor to have Hanane Benkhallouk share her wisdom and experiences with us. Her journey from Casablanca to New York City to Dubai and her significant contributions to the entrepreneurial ecosystem offer invaluable lessons for us all. Remember, success in entrepreneurship requires perseverance, innovation, and a commitment to building people and sustainable practices. Join our community on social media to share your thoughts on today's episode and connect with like-minded individuals. Let's continue to push boundaries and stay unboxed. Until next week, keep striving for excellence and stay true to your entrepreneurial spirit.